Good morning, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Thank you so much for joining me here on a Labor Day. I know. And even my husband was like, "You're not taking the day off, it's holiday." I was like, yeah, I know. But to be fair, in August, I did take a few days off because my husband and I, we were traveling. And, just as the audience, you guys were just so gracious. Everybody was just, you know, in the fight for me, I should say, listening to the replays and reposting the stream. And so I just really appreciate you guys. So I was like, yeah, I'm okay with being on this morning and just for the Monday recap. There were just some things over the weekend that I really wanted to share with you guys. And something that I'm going to be doing this week is we're going to be doing prayer every day this week, even whether it's live or whether I can find a replay or some people praying, which I'm going to be doing today because I wanted to get Pastor Mark Burns on. He's not going to be live, but I did find a post of him praying, and he's been on the show before, and I know he travels a lot. He's very busy, and I just really wanted us to have the prayer because, we are in a spiritual realm. We just are. We're spiritual beings. We just are. It is what it is. You don't have to like it. Just saying. And with everything that happened last week, in some of the comments, just about prayer, saying, well, these kids were on their knees praying and see what happened to them. You know what? God is always ever present, even in dark times, right? And even though we may not understand what's happening, what's going on, and we might not like it, He does have our best interest at heart. He is always looking out for us. Okay. And prayer is a way that we communicate with Him and we put our request before Him. We also bring our gratitude for everything He's done. And so it should never be frowned upon to pray. And we need prayer more than ever. Right. But we not only need to pray, we need to turn away from our wicked ways. You know what I'm saying? Like those two things work in tandem. Just saying. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's joining us this morning. And Walter Mason says, good morning, founder, peace and blessings. Well, peace and blessings to you too, Walter. And thank you for joining us on YouTube. So remember, we do stream live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And with that, we're going to get into our morning prayer. And we're going to start with Pastor Burns.
All right, let's pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus Christ, Lord, we have just a few moments to teach to your children. Thank you, Master Jesus, for this weather. Thank you for our healing. Thank you for healing my mother in the name of Jesus Christ. She has complete healing. Angels, wrap your arms around her. Speak to my father's mind and his heart and his soul. Brothers and sisters and everyone that's infected. Let this teaching that we have today, Father, let it be a lesson that it may increase our faith for the journeys that is to come. So remove all distractions and let your spirit flow even right now. Let the joy of the Lord fill up our hearts. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Shout amen.
Amen.
Praise
Amen.
God. As you know, my mother is back in the hospital. We're going to continue to lift up in prayer. They rushed her to the hospital from her recovery rehabilitation location, and so, but we believe in by the blood of Jesus she'll be completely healed. And this is just about expanding and increasing and mastering our faith, Brother Tim. And so let's continue to lift her up in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. I'm going to teach on the law of peace. This is what I was going to teach on. The law of peace. The law of peace. What is the law of peace? As I was studying and going over, my mother in the hospital and just using this moment to master how to not allow those emotions of the circumstance to impact my mind, my thoughts, my behaviors, and my desire to continue to do God's will. And the Lord gave me the law of peace. The law of peace. What is the law of peace? Write this down.
Okay, and I'm going to pause it right there. I'm going to make sure to add this link to the repost because it is an hour-long sermon. So this is actually a sermon. I just wanted his beginning prayer because I just found it very beautiful. And again, he is definitely a friend of the show. I'm so grateful for Pastor Burns and his heart, the way he, he's outside. He's like, I don't need a building. We're just going to do this right here, right now. And definitely sending out prayers for his mom. I'm grateful for her recovery, but let's continue to pray for her speedy recovery, right? And Dr. Kachoa, thank you so much as Greetings Founder. It's Motivation Monday. Oh, yeah. We're motivated and we're recapping. That's right. That's right. And so I also wanted to share something else with you, my wonderful audience, if I could get it over here. Sorry, y'all. Technology. Why aren't you working with me right now? Okay. It's like the whole drop and drag thing, right? If I could just grab ya, drop and drag ya. You guys can't see what's going on, which is a good thing. I'll take it. I will take it. But let me add this to the stage. So I wanted to share with you this outline, and I'm going to try to put it in a better readable format. But this is something that we're doing at my church for the month. What my pastor did is he turned certain passages into a prayer, right? And a prayer that we could follow in how to honor God with our bodies. So here's the outline right here with my notes on it. You guys clearly can't see that, but I'm going to go through it. Like I said, I'm going to update this and post it and do this throughout the week because this is something that I've added into my quiet times in the morning. But for the mind, guard your thoughts. And then the prayer would be, God, help me fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable, so I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. And then next, ears, listen for God's voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And then for the eyes, protect your eyes from sin damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. And that's just not like physical lust, but that's just like almost like a coveting type lust. Like I want what that other person has, right? And so not to look lustfully upon things. And then next, the mouth, speak life. And God, set a guard over my mouth, Lord. Keep watch over the door of my lips. And then hands, serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in faith. Sometimes you guys will see on Fridays, I've been wearing my do good sweatshirt, and it's just a reminder to do good to one another. And then the next one, he said he was in trouble with this one, but reproductive organs, right? Honor God with purity. And for that prayer, God, help me to honor you with my body. The next one, my feet walk in God's path. And that prayer is, God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And so, going forward this week, we'll be doing that prayer. I'm going to have the outline a little bit better, but I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to share that with you guys. Prayer is amazing. And, sometimes it's really cool just to see what God does because he may not always do what we ask him when we ask him, But it's always amazing to see what he's doing and how he's doing it, right? He does have our best interest at heart. We just have to be ready, to receive it. That's the bigger question. Are you ready to receive it? Sometimes you ask God for things, you're like, why am I not getting this? Maybe you're not ready. Just saying. There may be some more things he needs to do with you to prepare you for what you've asked for. But again, I want to really focus on prayer this week. And I know I put out a tweet stating that anybody who would like to have a mic, right, or even come on stage with me, just to send me a message and let me know. And I will send you a link to the live show, and you can be on to pray during this week. That's going to be our focus and goal. And so the next video that I wanted to play, I came across this. It's a young man, and he was sharing about an experience he had. He's in the entertainment industry, and it's something that we've been hearing a lot more of, but just his perspective and what happened to him kind of shook him awake to, the devil being real. So I wanted to share that with us while we are definitely praying for those to, for God to wake them up, and to really see his face and focus. So let's check it out.
The devil?
Yeah, I got booked for a photo shoot. They took me all the way up this mountain. I was on top of the mountain. We finished the photo shoot. They have OD cars. Like, they got a 3-seater McLaren. They got a Ferrari. And I'm asking them, like, how y'all get all this money? They're like, we do demonic rituals. I'm laughing. No, you don't, bro. I'm like, how you get this money? Don't put me on. I'm trying to get like y'all. Like, nah, we do demonic rituals. I say, so what type of demonic ritual? He say, the Illuminati never talked to you. I'm laughing. I'm still laughing at him. Why y'all playing with me? How y'all getting this money? They're like, no, for real. Leonardo DiCaprio do all the initiation. I'm like, what? I'm like, who is that? What is you talking about, gang? He giving me a list of people who all did. I'm gonna keep it PG-13. He was basically saying, either you let them peg you or you do oral and you'll get whatever you want. Tell them what you want. If you want to be the next big actress, next big whoever, I can take you to somebody. And all you gotta let them do is do what they want to do to you just for a night. That's what he was telling me. I'm like, hell no, I'm playing. So I'm still not trying to believe this. Now, while they doing all this, I'm trying to call my Uber. We on top of the mountain though. I don't got no service. The people who booked me left. After they leave, I'm in the car with the other dude that they called up to have a photo shoot with me. I get in the car with him in a 3-seater McLaren. See, on the way up, we go all the way up in the swivel, like all the way around the mountain.
Yeah.
On the way down, we take a right. So he not going the same way that we came up. So I'm like, what the hell? So then that's what I try. I'm like, take me to go get some McDonald's, gang. He said, we not gonna take you to get no McDonald's. We spent all this money to get you up here. This face change, gang. In front of me. You see Venom? Kind of like that. His face is probably about this wide. Like, face change. I'm like, what the? Like, it's probably about like right here. Like, it threw me all the way off. I didn't know how to get out of the car. I would have been got out of the car. We in the 3-seater McLaren, so it's like a button you gotta push to get up out of there.
Gotcha.
Now he backing into somebody's driveway. He smack a mailbox. Now he hit the button and he get up out of there. I see the button. I'm getting up out of there too. I hit the button. Guess what? It's a mailman come out of nowhere. I run up to him. I'm like, hey, bro, I'm getting back your truck. He looking at me like, what the hell? No. I look at him. I'm like, bro, just let me get in the back of your truck, bro. Like, please, just take me down to the bottom. Please, just take me down to the bottom. It was God. He took me down to the bottom. And I called an Uber and I just left. And the people on camera, you ain't got to believe me. I don't care. I'm not lying. I really saw this.
I believe it.
That's what like made me know that the devil and God was real.
You saw the darkness,
I seen it.
and now you're in the light with Jesus.
This is why I have to use my influence for good. Like how you doing.
Yeah. And sometimes, we look at our young people and they've got all the tattoos and all these different things, and it scares us. But that young man, like, it shook him. And it was one of those tests and trials in his life, right? Because he didn't have to get a way out, right? God gave him a way out and he had a choice. He could have turned and said, well, I want the money and I want the fame and I want all these things, and I will sell my soul to get all these things. But he decided, I'm not going to do that. I choose life. I choose light. I choose God. And God gave him a way out, even in a mail truck, right? Wow. So God is ever present. That's what I'm saying. That young man was pleading with God, even though he didn't tell us he was praying. God heard his prayers. Remember, because in the scriptures, it says that there are utterances that the Spirit, that we grunt basically, and the Spirit hears us. God hears us. Even when we don't think we're praying, we're praying. And God answered his prayer. He gave him a way out. And he was like, I need to use my influence for good. Like, it shook him. And see, God knew what it would take. But again, the choice is always ours. We have free will. We do. We truly, truly do. Like I said, when I came across that video, I was like, wow. Because I've been at, certain times like that in my life. And Walter says, amen. Yeah. Yeah. We never really think about it like that. But we've all been faced with trials, right? It might not have been as dramatic as that individual, but we've been there, And Dr. Chula, thank you so much for reposting the stream. I hope I'm not butchering your name. Colcha. Okay, there we go. Just want to make sure that I'm saying it correctly. So there's a few other things that we're going to get into, and I don't have this passage up, but I wanted to bring it up, is, hurting little ones. We're going to get into a video later that talks about how little ones have been harmed, and we need to remember that God frowns upon that. And he says, it'd be better if you had a millstone hung around your neck than to hurt any of my little ones. Yeah, we're still the little ones. I know, even though we're grown-ups, he still cares for us because we are his children. So I just want you guys to remember that you are dearly and amazingly loved. And so with that, we're going to get into a little bit of politics. There's been a lot of talk about Trump heading to Chicago, right? And beefing up the National Guard. Now, I had come across a video, I have to find that one again, where an attorney was saying, yes, the president does have the ability to increase the amount of National Guard that are present, right? He's got the ability, but he cannot use them necessarily in an enforcement way, right? Unless there's a national crisis. And the last one that we did have was in 1965. He tried to use those powers in Los Angeles, right? Because of people literally attacking ICE, and the governor wasn't doing anything about it, nor was the mayor. And then they wanted to turn around and be like, there's nothing to see here. I'm like, dude, they're trashing the place. They're literally throwing chairs and they're just out of control, right? And when the National Guard came in, they were actually able to do their jobs. But they had to release the National Guard because, the governor was like, it's not an emergency. It's here. It's not. It really was. It was really crazy what happened back in June. But now here we are. Now we're in Chicago, and people have been begging for order. And for some reason, the governor and the mayor are like, nothing to see here. We're good. We're fine. Go. Keep it moving. Now, in this video, you're going to see that Brandon Johnson has now written an executive order, right? But I find hilarious is such an admission of what he's doing, right? Because there's something called Title 8, Section 1324. And if some of you remember, I was able to get Judge Joe Brown on the show. And thank you, Judge, for sharing that information with us, where he discussed Title 8, Section 1324, and how individuals that are in office, if they are harboring, right, hiding basically people that are here illegally, they are subject to a violation of federal law. They cannot hide these people, and they're outwardly hiding them, right? They're bold about it. Like, you can't touch me. Well, that Title 8, Section 1324 can. And you've written an executive order admitting what you are doing. I love it. Because, see, I've already filed a complaint with the U.S. Attorney over Illinois, along with the DOJ. Yeah, I filed it a couple months ago because I see what you're doing, and it's wrong. And I know a lot of people might think, well, yes, I am, because I'm a citizen of this country, and I don't like it. I don't agree with what he's doing. I do not agree with how he's not caring for his citizens that are there. No, I don't live in Illinois, but I have relatives that live there. I know other people that live there. Illinois, last I checked, they're still a part of the United States. And they are under siege right now. And something needs to be done. So let's check out this executive order that Brandon Johnson has decided to put in place.
President Trump says Chicago is likely to be the next city to see stepped-up immigration enforcement, setting up a showdown with the city's mayor. It comes as Trump is turning his attention to eliminating voting by mail ahead of next year's midterm elections. Christian Benavides has more.
President Trump wrote on social media that he plans to sign an executive order to implement voter ID nationwide. He also railed against voting by mail. Trump spoke on the issue earlier this month in the Oval Office.
We're going to end mail-in voting. It's time that the Republicans get tough and stop it.
His pledge comes as he faces a number of legal setbacks after a judge blocked the Trump administration from expanding fast-track deportations, and a federal appeals judge has put his emergency powers to implement tariffs in jeopardy. His planned immigration enforcement operations in Chicago, which are likely to start later this week, are also leading to a showdown between federal authorities and police in that city.
We will not have our police officers, who are working hard every single day to drive down crime, deputized to do traffic stops and checkpoints for the president.
The city's mayor signed an executive order blocking police from cooperating with federal immigration officers. The White House blasted the mayor in a statement. If these Democrats focused on fixing crime in their own cities instead of doing publicity stunts to criticize the president, their communities would be much safer. Meantime, in a new interview, Trump said a bilateral meeting between Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky and Russia's Vladimir Putin is unlikely to take place, but that a trilateral meeting, including the U.S., will happen eventually.
Now, the president did not give a timeline on that meeting, but the comments come as the leaders of Germany and France met this week to discuss Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron called on Putin to comment by Monday to meet with Zelensky.
Yeah. So that's something to share. And I'm glad they were able to kind of bundle that, the trilateral meeting. Great that he's pressing forward with that. And Tatas, thank you so much for reposting the stream. But you see how Brandon Johnson is just brazen about we're just not going to. And that falls under 287G, under the Department of Homeland Security. And you know what? As a city, he has every right to say, we're not going to work with you. But what does that show your residents? You just don't care. And you don't care about you don't care about immigration. You're okay with illegal immigration. You're okay with people running around being criminals on top of criminals in your city. So you've got local criminals, but then you've got a whole swath of people that are here illegally. They're still criminals. They still broke the law. And I know a lot of people up there are going to be like, oh, but no. Legal immigration. And I still want that stopped for 10 years. I want it shut down. Like, can we just shut this down administratively tomorrow for the next 10 years to allow people that are already in line to do it the right way, get here properly? and shut down all HB1 visas, period. Shut down the chain migration. Enough. Enough. The people of this country are under siege with this. This has got to stop. It has to stop. But then again, this was a plan, and I showed it to you guys. It's called replacement migration, and everybody's like, no, you're crazy. No, I'm not. The United Nations set replacement migration in place in the year 2000. It's 2025. They're expecting this to be done at least between 2028 and 2030. This has been a plan in place all along to replace people with people from other countries that have a completely different mindset, a completely different ideology, completely different moral standards, period. And as far as I'm concerned, y'all need to go back home. Anybody that wants to practice like the whole jihad thing in the Islamic community, y'all need to go to one of the stands, find one, pick one. I don't care. Just get off the soil. Anybody here illegally from anywhere. I don't care whether it's South America. I don't care whether it's, the UK. I don't care. If you were here illegally, you need to self-deport. Period. Now, a lot of people are like, I'll just kind of take my chances and hang out. You're not getting amnesty. It's not going to happen. The Dignity Act is DOA. DOA. As a country, I find it disgraceful and disgusting that any members of Congress would even consider this. How dare you spit in the face of U.S. citizens and spit in the face of people doing it right to get here from other countries legally. You just don't care. You don't care. But you know what? You're going to care. You're going to have to. Because see, those people who find out what you've done, you're going to have to look them in the face. And I really don't want them to put you back in office. None of you. We need to run campaigns against every single person currently in the House and Senate to get them out of office. You don't care. You've been sitting back acting like you're entitled to be senators and members of the House. Okay. We're going to see. Because next year, you need to be ousted, period. You need to be gone. You don't care about this country. You are okay with it being destroyed. We need better. Now we're going to transition a little bit. And this is something that people may have forgotten about from President Obama 9 years ago. But I wanted to play it because as much as the Democrats have been fighting for illegal immigration, he wasn't. He wasn't. Let's see what he has to say.
While we intend to do the right thing by these children, their parents need to know that this is an incredibly dangerous situation, and it is unlikely that their children will be able to stay. And I've asked parents across Central America not to put their children in harm's way in this fashion.
Okay, now that was really referencing unaccompanied minor aliens. And that's a term that I've talked about before here on this show. And those unaccompanied minors, they set aside $12 billion in the 2021 Appropriations Act. $12 billion for unaccompanied minors. And nobody talks about it. But see, they are talking about unaccompanied minors now, but they never talk about the funding for it. They're always going, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening. Yes, you do. Stop it. Stop lying. Stop lying. I need somebody with a bigger platform than mine that has the stones to pull the documents and show that we, with our tax dollars, they used our tax dollars, $12 billion to human traffic babies. 0 to 17. Our government did that. 2021, that was under Biden. That is straight demonic. You did this. You did this. And you act like your hands are clean. They're not. I'm telling you. 2026 needs to be a referendum on every single member of Congress. And I mean it. I don't want to see an incumbent anywhere go back. We need a whole new freshman class of people that actually want to do right by this country, because that needs to be the standard. The standard needs to be, you're not going to be lying and cheating and stealing from the American public. That needs to be the standard, instead of, well, they're politicians, they lied. No. The American people, we deserve better. We demand better. And if you are going to just lie, cheat, and steal, then you're not going to be in office. Period. It starts with us making the demands on them, not sitting back going, oh, well, I guess. No, we need to call them out. We need to call them to the table. We need to demand, again, that they are going to be honest. What is wrong with telling somebody to be honest? Again, that needs to be the standard, some integrity. And somebody told me, she was like, well, I don't like the word integrity. Why not? Because it's been abused? Because nobody stood up for it? That comes back to us not demanding that they have integrity and basically excusing behaviors. I'm not excusing anybody. I'm not. Now, a lot of people might have their feathers ruffled and be like, well, what about Donald Trump? And what about, yeah, him too. Really? I'm on everybody's feet to the fire. Really? Y'all better straighten up. The American people are tired of this. We are tired. We are exhausted. And we are not going to put up with people being criminals in office anymore. If you want to be a criminal, you need to be in jail. You need to be serving time somewhere. We never talk about Leavenworth, but it is an option. I'm just saying. Let's get it done. And Unc, thank you so much for reposting the stream. So we're going to take a quick little break. And when we come back, there is a very disturbing video that I want to share with you guys that I came across. But it needs to be said and it needs to be told, because again, it comes back to a lot of our policymakers knowing what's going on, but not doing anything about it. So again, we need to hold people's feet to the fire. And thank you guys so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News for our Monday recap. And we will see you on the other side.
The browsers of today are broken. They've been overtaken by a barrage of sneaky and annoying ads, trackers that follow your habits, and cookies that build profiles, and all sorts of other internet clutter that's taking precedence over the content that you want to see. In fact, these useless bytes can take up to a whopping 50% of page load times, with a third of it anxiously trying to learn more about you. To make matters worse, some ad blockers are even letting ads through when large advertisers pay them. But do you really want a leaky ad blocker? It's because of these very reasons that we developed Brave, a new browser that kicks internet crud to the curb and makes it faster, safer, and better to surf the web than your current browser. With Brave, everything you need is built right in. We integrated technology that automatically blocks trackers, annoying ads, and shields everything that can cramp your style and destruct your privacy. With it, you can expect increased speeds nearly 2 times faster on laptops and up to 4 times faster on mobile. And unlike any other browser, Brave allows you to support your favorite publishers with automatic micropayments. So it's a win-win for you and your favorite sites. To top it all off, Brave is open source because we truly believe it's our web and we need to fix it together. So ask yourself this question: Do you want a web browser made for the internet of today? If so, try Brave. It's faster, safer, and ad-free.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. And my name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And so again, we're going to get into this video. I want to say trigger warning. There may be some things that you might find very disturbing in this video. So again, like I said, I just want to disclaim that it's a heavy subject. So here we go.
Muttered as whispers, hushed voices in academic halls, muttered sermons from religious pulpits. But now it's out in the open. In Israel, paedophilia is being rebranded, even legalized. According to members of Israel's own parliament, Netanyahu's government isn't just turning a blind eye, it's protecting the predators. A cabal of paedophile judges, politicians, CEOs, and so-called elites shielded from exposure. And while the victims are silenced, the government is taking a chainsaw to the very safeguards meant to protect them, dismantling age of consent laws, banning sex offender registers, stripping away every last offence. Why? Because these monsters in power say child abuse isn't abuse at all. It's natural. It's good for the child. It's even ordained by ancient law. They want you to believe we're all paedophiles at heart. But here's the truth. This isn't about faith or culture or tradition. It's about control. And once you see who benefits from normalizing the unthinkable, you'll understand just how deep this rot goes. Before we dive in, a quick word about our partner, VP.net, the next generation of private browsing. VP.net is the only VPN designed out of Israel's own media. But now something has shifted. The diabolical systematic pedophile cult, one that traces back nearly 9,000.
Okay, so I have to pause it here. What's happening is when infant boys in the Jewish community are circumcised, right? The priest will put their mouth on the genitalia of the infant to, I guess, draw out the blood. It's disgusting. Like, I saw a video on this. I mean, this is a still picture, but this is what they do. Like, this is what they practice, y'all. It's not why? I didn't see anything in the Bible talking about this. Now, the Bible does talk about circumcision. It talks about nothing about this. That's disgusting. Gross. Yeah. Disgusting. What are y'all doing?
1,000 years is facing the greatest threat it's ever known: exposure. Israeli MP Avi Mose is now leading the charge inside the Knesset. His warning is explosive.
Something I left out, by the way, some of those children end up with herpes, by the way. Just saying.
Netanyahu isn't just tolerating paedophilia, and he isn't just shielding the powerful men behind it. He's rewriting the law itself to make their crimes against children perfectly legal. Paedophilia is perversion, Mose said. Paedophilia is a disgusting phenomenon, and I'll do everything in my power to make sure the children of Israel are not abandoned because of one agenda or another. Mose says the situation is critical. He warns that behind closed doors, steps are already underway to legalize paedophilia and to grant legal immunity to tens of thousands of known abusers who continue to operate with impunity inside Israel. Mose warns that many of these predators see themselves as chosen, ordained by God. In their minds, abusing children isn't a crime at all, but a holy mandate, an ancient right granted to them by divine authority. The most notorious case is that of Malka Leifer, the former principal of the ultra-Orthodox Adas Israel School in Melbourne, Australia, between 2003 and 2008. She was charged by Victoria Police with 74 counts of sexual assault and rape against her female students. But before she could face justice, Leifer fled to Emmanuel, Israel. Soon after arriving in the town, she resumed, yet her family insists she's done nothing wrong, and she's only showing the children love. In their eyes, no crime has been committed.
What did you discover in Emmanuel?
I met a father and a daughter who were living on the outskirts of Emmanuel, who told me that Malka Leifer approached his daughter, her name's Sarah, and tried to give her extra special studies, religious studies, moral studies, also education, and show her how to become a good Jewish woman. The girl said that she touched her inappropriately, and that's what I found out there. I have to say that from what I understand from her family, they really do believe in Malka Leifer. They don't believe that she did anything. I heard recordings of her husband, Yaakov Leifer, talking about his handsy wife and saying she really loves children. They don't see that as rape, and that's a fundamental problem within the Haredi community, that they're not looking at these situations as a problem or as something to be addressed. And if it should be addressed, it should be addressed within the rabbinical courts or among the community themselves, and definitely not in a civil court. They're very anti-establishment. They don't believe in the court that we're here in today, and they will support their sister, their mother, until the end.
It's this twisted mindset at the grassroots level that gives cover to the elites, allowing elite paedophilia rings to flourish in plain sight. And that's exactly what's happening, according to Mose and a growing number of whistleblowers. Generations of victims are now stepping forward with horrific stories of abuse. Stories that are being systematically buried, whitewashed, and even legislated out of existence by the Netanyahu government. Whistleblowers claim that high-level politicians, including Netanyahu's settlement minister Orit Strock, are directly involved. Some of the most damning testimony comes from their own children, who say they were raped and abused in satanic rituals at VIP events that were meticulously documented and recorded.
היי, רציתי לשתף משהו אחרי תקופה ארוכה שאני סוחבת את זה עם עצמי. קוראים לי שושנה סטרוק. אני עברתי פגיעה מינית בילדות על ידי שני ההורים שלי. הפגיעה המינית צולמה. זה אומר שזה בעצם שימש לפורנוגרפיית ילדים. אני גם נפגעתי מינית בתור ילדה, אבל גם בעצם כנראה שאני נמצאת כרגע תחת איומים של גורמים עבריינים יותר גדולים. אני מאוד לא מבינה בעולם הזה. אני מרגישה מאוימת. אני הגשתי תלונה במשטרה על ההורים שלי לפני שיצאתי מהארץ. עכשיו חזרתי בבעלה לארץ כי הבנתי שאני בעצם מאוימת על ידי גורמים עבריינים.
Which brings us to Epstein. Because according to investigators, what we're seeing in Israel isn't isolated, it's part of a coordinated systematic network, a machine that runs through globalist power structures, including the World Economic Forum, designed to normalize the unthinkable: rape, ritual abuse, murder, and blackmail. Epstein wasn't an anomaly, he was one of many.
Let's go to the Attorney General. Did she fail to prosecute Epstein and others for crimes committed under her jurisdiction when she was the Attorney General of the state of Florida?
She did. Well, it's hard to know how much her arm was twisted. Everybody except for Donald Jr., I guess, in those clips, when they were asked, what's important to you? What did they say? Their relationship with Israel. That's all they care about. They probably looked at the list, found out it went back to Israel, and that was it. The list was gone. And the list was gone the day Netanyahu came to visit again. He said, get rid of it.
What is the connection to Israel? Was Epstein a Mossad asset?
1,000% he was. First off, Epstein did not create this compromise ring. He walked into a pre-existing nexus. They've been doing this. And if anybody's like, our greatest ally, would Israel really run an operation that included child rape? Israel shoots children. Israel shoots people in line begging for food. And Israel is the go-to haven for pedophile refugees. They all know if you get caught, you can flee to Israel and get away with it.
For decades, hiding in plain sight has been their modus operandi. But now, the push to legalize pedophilia marks an entirely new level of depravity. Outrage is already brewing inside Israel, as the elites move to dismantle the last remaining protections for children. So, can they be stopped? Or is it already too late? The answer might shock you. We'll be back in a moment after this important word from our sponsor. Let's be real.
Now, I want to pause it right there and thank Mark from the Soil for reposting the stream. Thank you so much. I mean, this is crazy because we have members of Congress and House and Senate that have dual citizenship in Israel. Do they know what's going on? We need to demand what they know. and what they don't know, right? I'll say allegedly. What if they know that this is going on? That's disgusting. That you're a part of it. Because see, once you know, you're a part of it, period. What's going on, Mike Johnson? What's up? What's up, bro? You were at the wall, like what, a month ago? Do you know that this is going on, Mr. Speaker of the House? What's good? That's all I'm saying. What do you know? And if you know that this is going on, I'm looking at you sideways. So sideways. Oh my goodness. Just trying to get through this commercial part. All right, y'all. Let's get back to the video. Let's see.
This month in Las Vegas, a sting operation went down that should have made national headlines. Police thought it was routine, another predator taken off the streets. But when they slapped on the handcuffs, they realized this wasn't just anyone. It was a senior Israeli official, a deputy to Benjamin Netanyahu himself. And that's when everything flipped. Instead of charges, he walked free. No ankle monitor, no GPS tracker, and he kept his passport. Within hours, he was on a plane back to Israel, joining tens of thousands of others already shielded there. How did this happen, and why? The answer is simple. His prosecution would have dragged too many powerful names into the light. Israel and its intelligence agencies have been kidnapping children for decades. Huge numbers simply vanish without a trace. Girls and boys snatched from their homes, disappearing into a system the outside world barely acknowledges. And the most shocking part? The complicit media has largely turned a blind eye, ignoring the patterns, the victims, and the networks that enable this to continue unchecked.
2000, the vice counsel for Israel was in Brazil. His name's Ari Shur. And he got caught in a pedophile ring with little kids, like 8, 9 years old, with this guy named George Steinberg, who was a Hebrew language teacher. He already's in jail, so we can say all this. Well, what happened was a 17-year-old saw herself nude that George had posted on the internet. And how many pictures do you have to put out there before one of the girls sees themselves? And that's what brought him down, and they raided his property, and they found just trinkets of photos and CDs and all. This is CDs. That's how long ago that was.
But back to Epstein, Ryan. What was he entrapping people for? Israel's political purposes? Was he a paid Mossad agent? Was he passing small talk that he had with whomever? You mentioned Bill Clinton, Bill Richardson, who's now dead. Was he passing that information on to his Israeli superiors?
Israel has everything he had. It wasn't just, they were supposed to be spying on U.S. science and tech and stealing trade secrets, and they did. The Compromat was part of that operation.
The disturbing mindset underpinning these crimes comes straight from Talmudic teachings that rabbis use to excuse abuse, keep victims silent, and justifies Israel's trafficking and adrenochrome industries.
גדול הבעל הקטנה, בוא נגיד ככה, ולא כלום.
He says, what is a toddler for this manner, a child less than 3 years?
כי מה זה קטנה לצורך העניין הזה? פחות מבת 3. הבתולים שלה חוזרים מאליהם. לכן
He says, so an adult who comes sexually on the toddler, it is nothing. It is considered to be a sexual intercourse. That's sick. This is a rabbi, y'all. This is somebody talking from the pulpit saying, hey, this is good. This is fine for you to do. It's okay for you to abuse children. It's nothing. What is wrong with these people?
אין גדול הבעל הקטנה, זה לא כלום, זה לא נחשב לביאה. זה פחות מכאן, פחות מגיל 3, כנותן אצבע בעין דמי. כמו שאמרנו, אתה נותן אצבע בעין, זולגת דמעה. אבל אחרי זה העין מתבהרת, ודמעה אחרת מחליפה אותה. אותו דבר עם הבתולין של פחות מבת 3.
Rabbi Yeshoshua B. Gordon makes it even clearer. In his view, if a Jewish man rapes a young girl, it's the girl's fault for tempting him. According to the rabbi, the minor girl should be the one to face trial in court, not the Jewish man.
A Jew who engages in intimacy with a non-Jewish woman, whether she is 3 years old, or she's an adult woman over 12 or 12 and a half, whether she is...
Okay, there is nothing in the Bible that says that, okay? Even if they were just to say, okay, we only follow the New Testament, the Old Testament, there's nothing in there that says that. You're not supposed to abuse children, period. Period. That is not of God. That's demonic, period. So I just want everybody to know where I stand on this, okay? What they are doing in the Jewish community is demonic, period.
Available, even if he was 9 years old, as we learned earlier again and again. That's the beginning when intimacy has an effect with a man. Then the courts could possibly take her to court and try to apply capital punishment if there are witnesses, etc., who warn them. Because the Jew ran into a problem due to this encounter. This is specified in the Torah, as it says with the Midianites, that these girls were sent out by the Midianite leaders to entrap the Jewish young men, as it says in the biblical story of Bilam.
This isn't just a sick opinion, it's a mindset. A mindset that shields predators, grants them impunity, and keeps their victims silent in the shadows. This isn't just about Israel, this is about a 9,000-year-old pedophile cult that has seized control of the world through institutions, including the UN and WEF, and the system built to protect it, including the mainstream media gatekeepers who have long run cover for the elites.
She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
Most people don't want to cross the psychological line that this stuff is going on. And we all have a mental defense mechanism. It's like finally admitting there's an elite pedophile ring. I mean, most people just don't want to go there. And the same is here. Psychologically, you lose your safety, your security, and whatever innocence you have when you realize that this stuff is really going on. And it's a chore to cross over that barrier and realize, oh my gosh, this stuff is really happening. And that's why it takes critical thinking. The people have got to look at this stuff critically and see what they're being fed so they can cross that psychological line that they just refuse to see it when it's right in front of them.
When Kevin said there's an elite pedophile ring, well, I'm thinking to myself, this is a hard thing for me to come to terms with. Now, it made me start thinking about conversations and things I'd heard, but I'd never saw it. It's not out in the open. And to me, I was like, no one could do that. Because, I mean, if I saw someone hurting a kid, I would kill them. I mean, I would literally kill them. I would never allow someone to hurt a child in front of me. Things Kevin was saying were things that were hard for me to cross the barrier. I did not want to believe it. I didn't want to go there. But as I went down this journey, I forced myself to go consider, what if this is real?
We're up against a paedophile cult that's been operating for nearly 9,000 years. One that's hijacked the mainstream media, corrupted Hollywood, and is flooding the world with its poison. Another generation is being stolen in plain sight. New victims are created every single day, maybe even in your own city. Enough is enough. This trafficking empire, this adrenochrome machine, must be ripped out, root and branch. No more hiding, no more excuses, no more looking the other way. The time to act isn't tomorrow, it's right now.
Yeah. And he's right. It does. We and they pop the lid off of this. And here's the thing. And Cajun Lady, thank you so much for reposting the stream. I think this is the reason why so many people are demanding the Epstein files, right? Because for a while, I was just like, I don't care. I mean, I know they're all trash. Like, whatever. I'm focused on the economy and the border. Like, hook me up in that sense. I care less. But now, after watching this video, I'm like, this is why they don't want to release any of this stuff. Because you know what? I guarantee you there are members of Congress that know, or they might be directly involved. They might be some of the ones on the list. And when I'm not talking the flight list, I'm talking about the list that has actually hurt children and harmed children or stood by and watched it happen. You're gonna be exposed. That's all I'm saying. Period. So whoever you are, you're gonna be exposed. Those files, you're going to be revealed. Just because you think you're hiding, you're not hiding. God sees everything. He knows what you've done. And you need to just come clean and walk away. You need to come clean and walk away. Get out of the way. And you need to definitely call these rabbis out. We already know what's happening in the Catholic Church rampantly. It's happening everywhere, and it definitely always happens in churches because that's where people trust, and they let their guard down. So everybody needs to be investigated. As far as I'm concerned, the CIA needs to be shut down and investigate everything that they have done for decades. They are a criminal organization working within our government, period. I have never heard of anything good that the CIA has done. And if I'm wrong, correct me, show me, send me something. Because every time the CIA is involved, it's like, oh my gosh, what in the world happened? And they're usually involved in the criminal activity. They're like the cleanup crew for the criminal activity. Is that their job? Right? Are they the cleanup crew? Because that's what it seems like to me every time I turn around. CIA, oh, yeah, okay. Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised? But what we just heard about the pedophiles happening in Israel of all places, and Israel of all places protecting this when they claim to love God. What? That is not of God, ever. Don't you ever conflate my God with that kind of evil. That's where we have a problem. That's where we have a problem. That's where, my emotions get a little bit involved. And I try not to be emotional about politics, but that's where my emotions get involved on this one. And Unk says, I don't believe Trump is on it because the Democrats would have exposed him a long time ago. I believe he's holding the info as an ace in the hole. He might very well be, because they already know they on it. Who's quiet about it? The Democrats. They ain't saying nothing. Because to your point, if he was on it, they'd be like, oh my gosh, release it. But some of the Republicans are quiet too. I'm not excusing anyone. In my opinion, they are all guilty until proven innocent. And usually in this country, we have innocent until proven guilty. But no, y'all are all in the guilty seat. Because every time we find something out, we're like, really? You knew? And you said nothing? I want everything exposed. Everything. We need to know the worst of us so that we can become the best of us. like I said, I'm tired of this, you know, politicians where it's okay for them to lie, cheat, and steal and be complete and utter criminals. And we're okay with this. I'm not okay with it. I'm disgusted by it. There are actually people that I don't want to meet in Congress because I'm just like, I might tell them, like, you're disgusting. You are a disgrace to this country and you need to step down. You need to remove yourself because you are a disgrace. How dare you sit in any place of authority doing anything, because you're not doing anything for the American people. You're doing everything for yourself. You're selfish and you're disgusting and you need to be out of office. Yeah. Like that would be my discussion. I kind of don't have the tolerance for evil that other people do. I just don't. I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. No. Not tolerating evil. We're shutting it down. I know. It's Labor Day. Anybody out there that's, has their day off today, I hope you are having a fabulous day. Kicking back in your PJs, having your coffee, not having to run your kids to school. It's like, whew, we get to breathe, right? And thank you for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. So I'm going to get into this next video. Now, this one, again, trigger warning. It is emotional. I came across it, and it's one of those situations that did happen in our nation's history, hidden from us, but we know that our government approved, how should I say, certain communities to be used for tests. I'll just say that they were used for tests without their consent, and these individuals are, unfortunately suffering physically. And our government doesn't want to acknowledge it. So, President Trump, if you are listening, Pete Hegseth, especially if you're listening, you need to do something about this immediately. Not like in a year, not in 6 months, like right now. Like, you need to be on top of this. So let's check this out.
Now to a News Nation exclusive investigation into a secret government experiment that was carried out in St. Louis. Residents tell us they still remember a mysterious fog. Children would run through it. Mothers would try and close their windows against it. For decades, they all had questions, and now we're seeking answers. The United States Army now admits that it sprayed a chemical that contained cadmium, a known carcinogen, on a neighborhood of more than 10,000 people. Critics say this was done with no warning and no consent. Well, tonight we return to the site of that demolished neighborhood and speak with former residents who believe the government turned them into human test subjects. Although the Army admits that the test happened, it is not admitted to harming the residents. News Nation's Natasha Zuvez investigates what was in the fog and why the truth may still be buried.
The fog drifted through the streets like a ghost.
That's exactly what it looked like, a thick fog.
It was summertime and it was hot. We would just run through it as fast as we could and try to just cool ourselves off. It stuck to you.
The spray was so foul as far as the odor. It made some of us have headaches, nausea, dizziness.
That's what I remember. It made me sick.
It wasn't the weather. It was an eerie smoke descending from rooftops, rolling from the backs of trucks.
Regular flatbed truck, but it had a big machine on the back. And it had a big nozzle that really sprayed a fog you couldn't even see through. It was that thick. And it really, we felt it as it would adhere to our skin. And as far as the guys on top of the buildings, they tried to portray them to us as maintenance workers. But we was like, what is a maintenance worker doing? And basically a hazmat suit. And they had masks and goggles.
In the 1950s and 60s, in secret, the U.S. Army sprayed zinc cadmium sulfide into the air of a St. Louis housing project, a largely black neighborhood called Pruitt-Igoe.
It was a lose-lose situation for us in Pruitt-Igoe. We were subjects. We were subjects. They didn't ask for our permission. We didn't ask for them to spray us. My government used me like I was a guinea pig.
We're standing at where Pruitt-Igoe used to be here in St. Louis, and it's hard to believe more than 10,000 people used to live here. As we bring our drone up, you can see it's mostly just an empty lot now, overgrown with trees. This used to be filled with 33 high-rise buildings. It was all demolished in 1976. And according to the National Research Council, St. Louis was chosen for spraying experiments because it had similar characteristics to Soviet targets like Moscow in terms of population density and terrain and proximity to a river. The government now admits to a secretive series of Cold War tests, including one dubbed large area coverage. More than 30 tests conducted across the U.S. and Canada, spraying zinc cadmium sulfide from planes, rooftops, and vehicles to simulate how a biological attack might spread, all to prepare for potential warfare against the Soviets.
Many of us been in the military and had top secret clearances. We know how it works.
We have died for America. We have fought for America.
You are a veteran.
I am United States Air Force veteran.
Dr. Starks, you're a veteran as well.
Yes, I am. I'm an Air Force veteran also.
Is there a sense of betrayal here?
Definitely, definitely.
They want to know if those secret tests have anything to do with what they're observing with their own eyes.
I lost my two older siblings to cancer. I lost a brother last month.
I've been diagnosed recently with a rare form of lymphoma.
I had cancer of the left kidney, had partial removal of my left kidney.
News Nation reached out to the Army for answers. They provided a one-page response. It says the Army's own Center for Health Promotion and Preventive Medicine investigated in 1994 and found inhalation exposure would not pose a health risk. They also cite later corroborating reviews, including a 1997 review by the National Research Council. Perhaps they assumed we wouldn't read the NRC's 380-page report, but we did, and the Army's statement doesn't show the full picture. In that 1997 review, the National Research Council explicitly says repeated exposure to zinc cadmium sulfide can cause kidney or bone toxicity or lung cancer if levels are high enough. And they admitted they couldn't fully assess the risk. Why? Because some Army records remain classified, it says, for national security reasons. More troubling, key Army exposure records were missing, and when the NRC asked the Army to supply them, the Army said it couldn't find them. Finally, the NRC considered conducting its own study, but concluded it wasn't feasible. In short, it did not test the site, collect samples, or test residents, and they didn't have access to all the data. Their review was based on what the Army gave them, and what the Army either could not find or withheld. The Army ends its statement to News Nation by saying, quote, none of the reports contained evidence of a radioactive component to the zinc cadmium sulfide dispersion tests. Residents say the secrecy and delays are no accident.
They're waiting us out.
They're waiting on all of us to die.
But that's not even the whole story, as residents demand to know what else could have been in that spray.
They have not come clean with what was in there.
Do you believe that it was just zinc cadmium sulfide in that spray?
No.
No. We go to the source, a researcher who has spent decades declassifying government documents about these tests. Do you believe the U.S. government sprayed some kind of radioactive material on the residents of St. Louis? I believe that they did. And the government's surprising response to our request to declassify information.
I mean, what the hell?
Plus, renowned activist Erin Brockovich weighs in. Do you think there's been a lie here, a cover-up here?
It sure looks that way.
The residents are asking for an apology from the government for being experimented on. They are asking for compensation, for health studies for themselves and their children. They're also asking for transparency. They want the government to release all the documents about the spraying. So, Elizabeth, tomorrow night on your show, we will go on a journey to try to declassify the one government document that a key researcher tells us she has never been able to expose. And we take the investigation to Erin Brockovich. For the residents still here, still fighting, the question is whether they will get any answers before it's too late. Elizabeth.
Well, they'll have a better chance of it with you on the case. Natasha Zuvez, thank you so much. In part one of our News Nation investigation last night, we uncovered a mysterious fog that once drifted through a St. Louis neighborhood, one that residents still remember decades later.
It made some of us have headaches, nausea, dizziness.
They didn't ask for our permission. We didn't ask for them to spray us. My government used me like I was a guinea pig.
They're waiting us out.
They're waiting on all of us to die.
The government admits it sprayed a chemical that contained cadmium, a known carcinogen. Critics say without warning and without consent. They sprayed it on a neighborhood of more than 10,000 people, but now years later, residents are getting sick, some with rare forms of cancer, and they're asking what else might be hidden from them. Specifically, what else could have been in that spray? News Nation's Natasha Zuvez picks up the investigation from here.
We're on our way to meet with a researcher right now who has dedicated her career, decades, to declassifying documents and trying to figure out what exactly happened here in the city of St. Louis and what exactly was in that spray. Across the country, the government conducted secret Cold War experiments in plain sight.
It was so secretive that we're really just now sort of digging out from underneath this to try to understand the scale of it.
And Dr. Lisa Martino-Taylor helped uncover many of them.
We know that they were giving radioactive cocktails to pregnant women. We know that they were feeding radioactive oatmeal to children in state schools. They've admitted to those things, and they won't release the material related to St. Louis.
It's true. American children in state-run institutions like the Fernald School were fed radioactive oatmeal as part of studies by MIT sponsored by the Atomic Energy Commission. You can see some of the documents Dr. Martino-Taylor worked to gather and declassify on MIT letterhead describing experiments on human subjects. The children, some of them orphans, were told they'd be joining a science club. They were promised a quart of milk a day, a trip to a baseball game, to the beach. A copy of the 1994 congressional hearing shows those children, now grown, describing being told the oatmeal was just vitamins and recalling the health problems that followed: lumps on my arms, my stomach. Pregnant women were also unknowingly given radioactive iron at top hospitals in Tennessee and California to study how radiation crossed the placenta, some later reporting miscarriages, illness, or birth defects. A class action lawsuit resulted in a settlement in the 90s. Do you believe the U.S. government sprayed some kind of radioactive material on the residents of St. Louis?
I believe that they did. There's so much contextual evidence that points that way, and I spent years looking at this.
She says her research reveals the men who designed and oversaw the St. Louis experiments were some of the top experts in radioactive weapons.
We know that the people who designed the study, who oversaw the study, these were all the radiological weapons experts who were looking at open-air radiological weapons.
One of them, Brigadier General William Creasy, was head of the Army Chemical Corps, the very branch leading America's secret radiological weapons program during the Cold War. He brought in a scientist named Philip Layton, who was the Army's leading authority on using radioactive particles in aerosol form, fog-like clouds designed to drift over enemy terrain. So the very man who designed this spraying experiment in St. Louis was an expert in using radioactive fog against the enemy.
Yes, he was the expert, the expert.
Then she says there's the timing.
They were looking for a city to test their offensive weapons program. They wanted to do it. They expressed this in documents. St. Louis was their chosen city. That was their analog city to Moscow. And they wanted to do this in 1953. And they showed up in 1953 in St. Louis.
But there's one document Dr. Martino-Taylor has never been able to unearth. It's still classified. The Joint Quarterly Reports detail the spraying experiments, all written by Layton himself. The last one is missing. It's called Joint Quarterly Report 5. and we tried to get it. Our team filed a Freedom of Information Act request on May 5th of 2025. By law, the government must respond to a FOIA within 20 working days, but it's been more than 3 months with multiple follow-ups. Nothing. The silence is what's called a constructive denial, and renowned activist Erin Brockovich says it reminds her of cases where the truth was hidden.
So, Erin, what is your reaction to this News Nation investigation? Did this shock even you?
Absolutely. I think my comment was, are we WTF the kidding me? I mean, what the hell? It's awful. I mean, the biggest thing, and I've learned in 30 years, is it's always the cover up that enrages people, that hurts people. And I've learned that communities can handle the truth. What they don't handle and where they'll tip a scale is the lie. So this has been a cover up, and I think that modern day agencies owe it to them. The truth.
Do you think there's been a lie here, a cover up here?
It sure looks that way.
Our investigation now drawing attention from lawmakers, including Congressman Wesley Bell of Missouri.
When American citizens have been impacted and exposed to chemicals specifically because of the federal government, I think that we should do, as Democrats and Republicans, we should all do the right thing, make certain to make these folks whole again, get them the compensation they deserve and the treatment that they need and also deserve.
It can happen to you. Don't get duped that it can't happen to you. We didn't think it was going to happen to us. We was babies, kids. It can happen to you, too.
Representative Bell is now fighting to get Pruitt-Igoe included in the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act that would provide payouts to Americans who can prove they were exposed to radiation during the Cold War. But for Pruitt-Igoe residents, there's a catch. Because key records remain classified, they haven't been able to prove what they were exposed to.
What do you want everyone to know about what happened here?
The truth. Whatever the truth is, we want to know the truth. I don't think we get it now.
In the meantime, residents say all they can do is wait, hoping someone finally listens.
When will you give up this fight?
Never. Till I'm cold and dead and buried in my grave.
And Elizabeth, we asked the Army point blank, was there a radioactive component to that spray? It's interesting that they didn't just say no. Rather, they said, quote, none of the reports contained evidence of a radioactive component, pointing us to reports like a review by the National Research Council. But Elizabeth, a close read of that report shows even the NRC admitted they could not fully assess the risk of the spraying, because when they asked the Army for key records, the Army replied the documents were either classified or they were missing. The Army could not find them. And Elizabeth, I have to tell you, these residents feel the government is waiting them out. The people you just heard from last night and tonight are the ones who are still here, who are well enough to speak. One woman we were supposed to meet with died before we could get to her. She was suffering from multiple cancers. Her daughter asked us to keep going, and we will keep pushing for information, including those classified documents, Elizabeth.
All right, Natasha Zuva, stay on the case. Thank you so much for that investigation.
Yeah, and what is very telling is to date, the FOIA request still hasn't been fulfilled. That's telling. That you know what you did. You know what you did, and you know when you did it. And I guarantee you the CIA is a part of this nonsense. It's disgusting what they've done to American citizens, especially Black American citizens. Like, y'all just treat us like lab rats. You just don't care. And you wonder why people get emotional. You wonder why people get upset. You wonder why people are just done. And then you want to make it all about race. I'm not making it about race. I'm just saying you specifically harmed a certain demographic of your population. Can I say that without making it about race? Because you just treated these people like they were nothing. And you still are. There's parts of the documentation that you're not releasing because you know the evidence is there. Pete Hegseth, I need you to figure this out, sir. Since you're the head of the Pentagon, since you are over all of the, Army, all the military, the branches. That's your job. I need you to fix this. It's easy fix. Go in, figure it out, fix it. Look, I appreciate the job that you're doing. You get stuff done, sir. Get this done. Because we're coming for you too. If you don't, we will drag you. Period. We, as the American people, I don't think we realize the cards that we hold with these politicians, with these officials, with our federal government. We own you. Okay? We own you. You serve us, period. And if you keep thinking you're high and mighty, you're going to be out on the street without a job, period. We're turning the tables. The attitudes are changing. You're not little emperors. You're not gods. You're nothing. You are servants, and you will serve us. And you will fix this, period. And that's it. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing. And April Showers, thank you so much for reposting the stream. And Shari Mientas, thank you for reposting the stream and joining us here this morning on Unfiltered Vision News. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to check out some of our today's articles going on and just see what's happening in the world. So thanks again for joining us here on Labor Day for Unfiltered Vision News, and we will see you on the other side.
At All Sides, we believe unbiased news doesn't exist. To get more clicks and make more money, media outlets often report news with a left, right, or sensational slant, either to suit their own agenda or because by telling us what we want to hear, we'll come back for more. Several news outlets in the center do a good job of portraying both sides equitably, but for the most part, American news media is biased. Bias isn't necessarily a bad thing. The key is to get multiple perspectives. But making matters worse, social media and internet search results are heavily filtered, showing us the most popular opinion or results that match our preferences and make us happy. That means we're all living in filter bubbles, where we're only exposed to viewpoints we already agree with, making us less informed and less tolerant of different people and ideas. At All Sides, we give bias ratings for hundreds of media outlets. By freeing people from filter bubbles and providing different perspectives, we can all be better equipped to understand the world and each other. So how do we do it? All Sides has created a patented, fair, transparent process to rate the media bias of hundreds of news outlets and writers. We assess each media source and rate them as far left, center, lean right, or far right, allowing you to quickly identify different perspectives. All Sides is constantly evolving our media bias engine. The more you participate, the better our ratings will be, and the better our news coverage will be. Go to allsides.com to get involved.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And Shari says, I heard about these events years ago. Happy to hear people are still digging for the truth. Yes, we need to. Because, when I'm looking at that city, how many other people did this affect? We don't know. Because maybe they're not living to tell the story. Does that make sense? And just like the individuals from that video said, they're waiting them out. They're waiting them out. And that's the sad part. My husband, he got sick years ago in a very peculiar manner. He got a staph infection. He was not in a hospital. He didn't have anything to cause a staph infection, but where it was located was on his sciatic nerve. Kind of in a similar location where you would get shots, right? He was in the military, former military. And I always tell him, and this is where I put my tinfoil hat on, and I will say conspiracy theory. I do believe that they knew it would trigger at a certain point, because he does probably have some information that they wanted hidden with him. right? Or other people like him. And if they're on medications and they're debilitated and they can't function nor move because they're in so much pain. How many of our other service members is this happening to? When we just want to say, oh, well, they're on drugs and there's something wrong with them. Yeah. And our federal government did it and facilitated it. That's the problem. Pete Hegseth, you need to figure this stuff out. There are crimes that happened within our military. And it also was allowed to happen on the American public. For your research? So you could take out other people? I thought there was something in the Geneva Code. Yeah, because I know about that because I did work with the military. There's a code of conduct and ethics. And apparently we just overlook that because you're not supposed to experiment on the American people. It's part of the code. Just is. You can look it up. But it happened. You better restore these people. And I mean it. And I'm making a demand. Yeah, y'all are seeing that term they call Karen coming out. Oh, let me speak to your manager. I don't need to speak to your manager. I'm speaking directly to you and President Trump. If y'all don't fix this nonsense, fix it. This is a disgrace that there hasn't been a response of a FOIA. And it's been over 20 days. If y'all don't get on your job, if y'all don't figure this out, we demand it as the American public. We already know the crimes you've committed. We already know you're guilty. It's the way you're moving. But the insult to injury is the way you're moving. Because if all of these people pass away and they perish, you'll be like, oops, oh, we're sorry. I guess we had it. But they're gone. We can't do anything. You know what? You will compensate the people that they left behind. Their grandchildren, their children, their other relatives. You will. Yeah. We're going to put our foot on your neck and make sure you do what's right by everybody. Because we're tired as a society. I think we're really sick and tired of these people in authority that are just evil. They're just evil. It's like, how do you look at yourself? How do you get through the day being that evil? But again, sociopaths and psychopaths are okay with that because they're okay with killing people. That's why a lot of people like that are in places of authority because they're okay with death. Yeah. I'm sure their psychological profiles are really interesting. Yeah. So let's check this out. I got to get there first. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Come, really, machine? The machine is taking off Labor Day. Well, I would hope the verification would be successful. Yay, we got here. Okay, so pro-Dem influencers, right, receiving dark money from groups Bill Gates recently cut ties with. Why you cutting ties, Bill? Why you running? Why you running, bro? Why you running? What are we doing? So a new report from Wired, which is left biased, has alleged that several prominent pro-democratic influencers are receiving funds from an entity managed by Arabella Advisors. A day prior, the New York Times that leans left reported that in June, the Gates Foundation stopped making donations to nonprofits managed by Arabella. Interesting. For Wired, and this is from the report, independent journalist Terry Lawrence reported that a nonprofit Chorus offered many influencers $8,000 monthly to join a program that aimed to build new infrastructure to fund independent progressive voices online at scale. Under the terms, influencers would not be allowed to support political campaigns without Chorus's approval and could not disclose Chorus as a source of funds. Well, that's illegal. Chorus also reportedly reserved the right to remove influencers' posts at its sole discretion. Lorenz reported that the program began in July and over 90 influencers were set to take part. Influencers reached out to by Chorus included David Pakman, Olivia Juliana, and Lauren Pritra. Pritra? Hopefully I'm saying that right, among others. So this is they're a part of the propaganda machine, right? That fate model that we talked about. Yeah, focus, authority, tribe, emotions. They're paid. That's disgusting. This is gross to me. Why y'all doing this? You're going to get found out. You're going to get caught. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I need evil to keep up, but they can't help it. They can't help themselves. That's what they do. That's what they do. So for context, Chorus is funded by the liberal nonprofit 1630 Fund. 1630 is managed by Arabella Advisors, a for-profit consulting firm that also manages the nonprofit New Venture Fund. NYT wrote that much of Arabella's work happens through New Venture. Okay, so they've got a lot of dips and dodges that they're going through. And Walter says that Bill Gates is a devil, y'all. Whole, organic, local food are the only way to go. You are what you eat. Oh, yeah. He's talking about appeal, APEEL, right? And if you see it, or you might not see it, just Google stores that sell vegetables with appeal, and then you'll know which stores to avoid. But definitely, your local farmers markets, way to go, but make sure they're not at flea markets. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes in the flea market, they're just buying from the grocery stores and reselling them at the flea market. They're not real farmers. Just saying. But if you're going to a place where that they actually farm, like, and they're like, they got that little stand out in front of their acreage or farm location, then I mean, I found a couple here in Georgia, luckily. So grateful that that's what they sell. There's a gentleman and he's so wonderful and he's older, but he's about my dad's age. And, he told me one time when we went in there, because we've been going there for a couple months, he said, yeah, one of my farmers, they started using pesticides and different things that I didn't agree with. So I'm not working with them anymore. Like, he's that on top of it. Like, those are the types of people you want to make sure you're working with when you're buying your produce, especially. So the NYT report, they reported in June, Bill Gates Foundation stopped making grants to nonprofit funds administered by the consulting firm Umbrella Advisors. Reportedly, New Venture has donated to 1630, which has donated $97 million to pro-democratic PACs since 2016. Last year, only 2% of New Venture's funds came from Gates, though the organization called him an important partner since the beginning. Well, I would say, well, who's a part of New Venture? Who's a part of 1630, right? Just because it's not coming from the Bill Gates Foundation doesn't mean that they're not a part of these other foundations, allegedly. I'll just say allegedly, because a lot of times that's what they do. They just hide under other places. It's gross. It's gross. So this is how the media covered it. NYT focused much of its coverage on President Trump being back in the White House and that Gates or Arabella clients could be targeted politically by his administration. An opinion from Tyler O'Neill for the Daily Signal, didn't mention NYT's report, but focused on Lorenz's O'Neill concluded, I'm grateful to Taylor Lorenz for exposing this move, and I hope many left-wing influencers notice it for what it is. For far too long, the left acted as though the only dark money activism is on the right. Across the spectrum, O'Neill Lorenz and Emily Jasinski of Unheard, which is center, framed the developments surrounding Arabella as highlighting the current political struggles of the Democratic Party. And Walter says, yes, follow the money. That's all we got to do. Absolutely. And when you see somebody, I don't know, like shoot stardom and they have all this money, come on now. Unless you can prove startup rising star that the money actually came from the grassroots, honestly, we just need to stop listening to people. And I know a lot of people say, well, that's just messed up. No, it's not messed up. We need to start really pushing people that we know are grassroots, that we know are not backed by these criminals. And that's what I call them. They're criminals. They've committed crimes against humanity. They're trying to prop somebody up so they have a vote in government. We need to stop it. The people that are there, they're supposed to represent we the people. Not these corporations, not these big money donors. Okay. These big money donors, whatever. You need to stop paying people to be your vote. And it needs to stop being allowed. But again, Congress, they decide what happens. Why haven't y'all fixed it? Oh, because it doesn't serve you. And if y'all give yourself another raise this year, we coming for y'all. I'm sorry. Anybody in it with me? They better not give themselves another raise. I was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, man, if they give themselves another raise, while you got people out here still struck, no. And Harriet Jacobs, thank you so much for reposting the stream. I appreciate it. Just a mess. Now, this whole thing with the executive order, mandating voter ID. So, a lot of times when our presidents put an executive order in place, it is to, how should I say, encourage our Congress to move forward with putting a law in place, right? Now, a lot of people will fight against this because they will say, well, that's states' rights. Our elections shouldn't be federalized because we should be able to independently tell you how many votes we got, how many votes you didn't get, right? And I get that. But why is he saying that we need to mandate voter ID? Because we do. Because unfortunately, a lot of these cities, whether they're Republican or Democrat, I don't care, they have gotten an influx of people who are here illegally. And in some areas of these states, they've allowed them to get either ID or driver's license. But those documents allow them sometimes to get on a voter roll because they have an address, they have an ID. What are we doing? If somebody shows up to vote and they are not a citizen of this country, they should be kindly turned away. You can't vote. Period. But because they have an ID. Now, California, they have just a no ID situation. You can just show up and vote. How does that even work? You can just bust people in to vote. Oh, but we shouldn't talk about such things, right? Okay, so President Trump said late Saturday night that he would sign an executive order requiring voter identification for every single vote in upcoming U.S. elections. That's awesome, but that's not going to determine who's a citizen and who's not. Like, what are we doing? So Trump wrote on Truth Social, voter ID must be part of every single vote, no exceptions. I will be doing an executive order to that end. Also, no mail-in voting except for those that are very ill and the faraway military, which he's talking about absentee voters, right? We do have absentee voters, and there's a chain of custody for those absentee votes. So for context, earlier this month, Trump said he would sign an executive order to eliminate mail-in ballots and voting machines ahead of the 2026 midterms. Okay. And this is how the media covered. Mainstream outlets from the left and center generally highlighted Trump's claims that there was widespread fraud in the 2020 election early in coverage, describing them as false. Outlets from the right largely didn't mention Trump's claims about the 2020 election. Fox News, which is right biased, noted a Gallup poll that found 67% Democrats, 84% independents, and 98% Republicans supported mandating voter ID. That's great. That's great. But are you determining who is here legally that's allowed to vote? Because you can give somebody ID, and if they have an address, that makes them eligible to vote, right? Be more specific. Okay? Because personally, I live here in Georgia. I not only got a voter registration card with my Georgia address on it from California, asking me if I was going to vote or not. I got 3 mail-in ballots here in Georgia. Not that any one of them was a duplicate, and not that I asked for a ballot to be mailed to me. I didn't. I specifically, because when you register to vote and you update your registration, you can say if you want your ballot mailed to you, so you can mail it in, or if you can just go in and cast your ballot. I prefer to cast my ballot because I know I'm doing my thing, right? 3 ballots showed up at my house. What? That's disgusting. 3 ballots show up at my house? But everybody wants to cry, well, no, you know what you're doing, and you know the fraud that's being committed. And this is to all 50 states. If y'all don't stop, fix it. Fix your voter rolls because people die and move. And do not allow anybody that's here illegally to vote in our elections, period. Not at the local, not at the state, not for federal, period. I don't care if they have an ID. If they are not a citizen of this country, they don't participate in our elections. And I'm going to be watching people this year. Because if I see anybody doing I'm going to make sure you get arrested. I'm going to make sure your life is ruined. Yeah, I'm coming. Because I'm tired of the evil. I'm tired of people just being criminals. Like, what is wrong with you? What is truly wrong with you? And we are in the month of September. So we've got 10 days to we'll be discussing 9/11, And this article that's right here on screen, it says families permitted to sue Saudi Arabia over the 9/11 attacks. Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting when there's so much evidence that the United States was in cahoots with it too. Are these families going to be able to sue the United States government as well? Like that's not allegedly, though. Those are just facts. You did it. You blew up other buildings 2 blocks away that held, very prominent records. And these are the things that make us upset about our federal government. And we just want you to do right by the American people. We demand it. You need to respect us. And we're going to keep fighting because that's who we are. This is how we are. How it says it, raised to ensure that we are doing the right thing as the American public, right? That we are doing the right thing as citizens, we the people, because that's what it says. It's we the people. We are a republic, no matter what some people say. So with that, thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News and Black Flag. Thank you so much for reposting the stream. And we will be back tomorrow with Tell It All Tuesday. Got some good information for you guys. But thank you so much for joining us here today on this wonderful Labor Day. And Cajun Lady says, thank you so much for this stream. Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for joining me. So again, I'll see you guys tomorrow on Tell It All Tuesday. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.